What's cracking, everybody? You're back with Mr. Berger. And first things first, if I sound a little bit nasally tonight, that's because I'm recovering from a cold, so bear with me if I sound funny. Anyway, tonight, I recently unlocked the Magic Archer, so we're going to take a look at this P.E.K.K.A Battle Ram Magic Archer deck. Now, this deck is really cool. I really like it. It has a lot of cool cards in it. It has a lot of off-meta cards. All kinds of stuff. So, I would consider it definitely like a control deck. And you'll see that as I go on with this, as I continue to showcase this deck, that I play it very much as a control deck. I kind of play relatively defensively, kind of try to gain control of the board or of the battlefield, build that control into a powerful counter push, and take advantage of these really powerful counter cards that I have in this deck. So we got a lot of cool cards in there. First thing that stands out to me is the P.E.K.K.A. So she's definitely like a really powerful, I keep saying powerful, I sound so repetitive. I was going to say powerhouse, but that would sound even more repetitive. So she's definitely a great card to have in a lot of decks because she can counter things really well. She's a tank, and she's also a tank killer. She only costs 7 elixir, which is not too much compared to like a golem or 3 musketeers, I guess, So she still leaves the room for something like an ice wizard or something on like a mega minion to be placed on defense right after her, because she costs 7 and then you have the 3 elixir left in the hand if you have a full 10 elixir. So on top of that, you do have the guards. Guards are a great swarm unit right now. They're not necessarily a swarm unit in the sense of like a skeleton army or goblin gang, but there is 3 of them. So they're really powerful. That shield mechanic definitely comes in handy. And yeah, I really like them. They're great. You got the Magic Archer, of course, and that's kind of MVP in this deck. And this was kind of my shot at figuring out how to play the Magic Archer. And of course, if you haven't already, there's a couple really good videos on the Magic Archer tech. I think OJ did one. I know that Clash with Ash and Ernie C3 just did one like earlier today. So go ahead and take a look at that if you haven't already. Kind of learn how to play the Magic Archer a little bit better. You can see there he has that massive range, and you want to try to take advantage of that massive range like so, and that piercing effect. It's really tricky though because his shot is so like thin, you know what I mean? His range is really long, and he pierces targets, and he targets something close, and then his bullet or his arrow shoots much further than that. But it's very like a very small AOE as far as width goes. So let's go ahead and talk about the Flying Machine. Now the Flying Machine and the Magic Archer play a duo role in this deck. So having both the Flying Machine and the Magic Archer in there really gives you this kind of element of spell bait, because generally they're going to fireball or poison one or the other, and that gives you leeway to place the alternative one down. So you got the P.E.K.K.A as kind of your big tank, or the Battle Ram as kind of your aggressive push unit. And then you've got, of course, the Magic Archer and the Flying Machine as your main support units. And they're really awesome. These are 2 cards that I like a lot because of their massive range. The Flying Machine, I almost think of it as like a ranged Dart Goblin, but it's a little bit slower and, how would I say this, beefier. Yeah, has more health. Dart Goblin dies really easily. Flying Machine is a little bit tankier. Dart Goblin provides you an element of log bait because it dies to log, whereas Flying Machine provides you an element of fireball or poison bait, or even just overall spell bait. So take advantage of that, cycle one out. If you see that they have fireball and they keep fireballing your Magic Archer and your Princess Tower at the same time, don't be a noob like me and keep placing your Magic Archer in the back behind your King Tower. After you've seen that once, make sure you don't do that again. You want to place it up ahead or wait to use it kind of reactively or after they've used their fireball, because you don't want to give them that value. And whichever one works out, Flying Machine or Magic Archer, they're both great support units. Now, the Magic Archer, it's interesting. You want to try to place him in places where he gives you value where he hits the Princess Tower. You can kind of put him just to the center of the bridge a little bit. So if you're on the right bridge, you put him to the left a couple tiles, and if you're on the left bridge, you put him to the right a couple tiles. And if you place him like so, he's more likely to hit their support units and let his bullets or arrows rather pierce through and hit the Princess Tower. He's got massive range. I think he can actually hit the Princess Tower from across the river if he's placed correctly. So take advantage of that. Again, learn how to use that Magic Archer. He's kind of MVP in this deck. A lot of people don't like him and think that he's kind of undervalued, but I think that the overall player base is just kind of still learning how to use him. There's a lot of cards that were considered undervalued at first and then are seen very highly at competitive gameplay. For example, the Cannon Cart was seen for a while at competitive gameplay, and the Flying Machine has definitely been seen for a while as well. And check out this comeback in this replay here, it's a really solid one. You can see that I'm able to push 2 lanes at once. I pressure in the right lane with the P.E.K.K.A, and then the Battle Ram on the left lane. And of course I got that Flying Machine supporting in the right lane, and I got the Magic Archer supporting in the left lane. Able to take out both of those towers. So that is basically how you use the Magic Archer. Use him in the back, try to get value where he hits the Princess Tower as well. Now in this deck, do be prepared to go into long matches. If you're an Expo player, you know that you need to be able to be ready to play into a draw, because oftentimes you'll result in draws, because that's kind of how Expo is. It's very passive. You get your one opportunity and you break through and take out a Princess Tower. That's basically it. The whole game is then played out through then, and if you don't get that opportunity to take out a Princess Tower early on or catch them off guard later in the game, then it could easily go into a stalemate and turn into a draw. So this is similar to that. You'll see that there's a lot of really long matches. I've gotten into a few where there's only like 30 seconds left, and this is at in a challenge where there's a full 6 minutes or whatever, and it's pretty frustrating if you lose. But I've won some too, and it's pretty satisfying. So it's interesting. It's an interesting type of deck because you have this potential to gain a lot of board control, but it also gives you the room to go into a very long match. And again, there's a lot of counter cards in this deck. P.E.K.K.A is a huge counter card. Magic Archer, you can use him on defense in the back, and he provides a lot of threat on offense too. Same with the Flying Machine. Now the guards don't do all too much, but they're a great defensive unit, and if you have them in the back of something else while something's tanking for them, like your P.E.K.K.A, they can connect to the tower, and they'll do a good amount of damage. And of course the Battle Ram provides an element of aggression. You don't want to consider this really a bridge spam deck. It's not a bridge spam deck, but you do have the Battle Ram in there to kind of distract them. Either split push, you can push with the P.E.K.K.A on the right and the Battle Ram on the left, like I did in that last match. Or you can put the Battle Ram behind the P.E.K.K.A and just try to go for a huge, massive push and take out a tower. Hail Mary, and just try to destroy that tower. Alright, what else do I want to talk about here? You want to support that P.E.K.K.A, but I think I've talked about that already. So, just reiterating it, make sure that we, support that P.E.K.K.A, put the Magic Archer in the back, put the, the Flying Machine in the back, behind the P.E.K.K.A. And when you see their Inferno Tower, or their Inferno Dragon, you got 2 ways to handle it. You got your Zap to interrupt it, and you got your Ice Spirit too. And not everybody thinks of this, but you can actually save your Ice Spirit and try to time it perfectly to take out their Inferno Tower or Inferno Dragon's beam and lessen its overall damage. I guess I should say interrupt its beam and lessen its overall damage. So you want to wait about 3 or 4 seconds of charging before you, of the Inferno Tower or the Inferno Dragon charging, before you interrupt it with your Ice Spirit or your Zap, because that's when it kind of stacks up and gets its full potential damage. So that's basically the strategies behind this deck. So play it as a control deck. You can go for a big snowball push, or gain your opportunity to catch them off guard and play aggressively with that Battle Ram. There's kind of a few ways to play it, but overall just kind of play passively, play defense, and then go for the counter push. That's how I would do it. That is how I do it, actually. Doo-doo. Wonderful. He said doo-doo, Mr. Berger. Wonderful. This is so mature. Okay, let's destroy those 3 musketeers. So what I want to do here is I use the poison to try to get all 3 of them. It didn't quite work out, but you can see the Magic Archer pierces, and it doesn't quite get the 2nd musketeer, so I get a lot of damage on the left there. But it does get the 1st musketeer, so I did take out some of the potential damage. And you can see here I put the Battle Ram in front. Like I was saying, you use that as a counter push mechanism. And look at the placement of the Magic Archer. It's hitting the Dark Prince and it's piercing through, and it's hitting the tower in the back. That's giving me a ton of damage on the tower while the magic archer is playing the role of support, kind of like a musketeer or a wizard in the back, and just whittling away at the Dark Prince. Now, it doesn't do too much damage to units, but it's that piercing effect and that massive range that gives him his value. Similar to the princess, she necessarily doesn't do too much damage right away with her shots, but she has the potential to have a lot of value because she has such massive range and she can live forever because of that. So Magic Archer is relatively similar. Dark Goblin would be similar, but hey, he runs in and dies all the time because he just runs straight into the tower and kamikazes it. Anyway, that's a story for another day, another video, another deck. By the way, have I done Dark Goblin? Yeah, I've done a couple Dark Goblin videos. I like the Dark Goblin. You can see I put pressure on the left here because I see that he musketeer, 3 musketeers in the back, and that kind of allows me to, know that I can push in the left because he doesn't have anything to answer it. I take out the musketeers on the right there with the poison, as well as that magic archer, and then I use the P.E.K.K.A again on defense. And P.E.K.K.A does a great job of answering the Prince and the Dark Prince, and since his Dark Prince is the cleaving, the AoE damage one, and I took it out on the right there, I could safely use those guards to counter the regular Prince. Now this is interesting because he's got heal, and heal is very off meta, you don't see it a whole lot, but if you know how to use it, I feel like it's a really solid spell. It's just one of those high risk, high reward spells like Clone, or in a way Freeze or Rage. Freeze or Rage are a little bit more reliable. Heal and Clone, I think, are a little bit more high risk, high reward, a little bit more of a gamble. So Heal spell, you can completely whiff it and waste it, and there goes your 3 elixir, or it can allow you to catch your opponent off guard and get a tower down by, surprising them. And as promised, guys, I show a loss. Now this was kind of an embarrassing loss because it's kind of an off-meta deck, but it is technically a Hog Mortar deck. He has Cannon Cart in there, and again, Cannon Cart, I really like it. It's underrated, dude. I feel like it has the potential to do really well, but let's see what I do here. I answer that Mortar with the P.E.K.K.A, and then I opt to freeze it, but actually the Ice Spirit runs all the way around, and that was a noob move by me. So there's mistake number 1, placing the Ice Spirit there thinking he would leap over the bridge. Now here we see the Cannon Cart in the back, and we see the Knight tanking for it, and I gotta answer that Hog too, but I don't really have much. I don't have really a direct counter to the Hog except for the P.E.K.K.A, and I definitely didn't have the P.E.K.K.A in hand because I used it earlier to take out that Mortar. And look at that damage from the Cannon Cart. It just does so much damage to the tower, and it dies and turns into a regular cannon, and that cannon, if it's close enough, can whittle away at the tower even more. He used the Mortar kind of defensively there to distract the Battle Ram, and it works out okay. He uses arrows there, and look at this value from the Magic Archer, but he actually opts to zap to take that Magic Archer out because he knows that it would do a ton of damage to his tower there with the Barbarian tanking for it. Even just that one flimsy little Barbarian tanking for that Magic Archer gives him the value, or the potential to have so much value. Now I opt to use the Flying Machine supported with an Ice Spirit there just to try to get a little bit of chip damage off on his tower, but it doesn't work out. I zap that there just to make sure those minions are low, and then I use the Magic Archer in the back here kind of to finish them off. And I'm still learning again his mechanics. I don't necessarily have the placement down perfectly. There's a lot of things I still need to work on, but this is kind of like my first attempt at making a deck and a video on a deck with the Magic Archer. I guess I did one that had like a Magic Archer challenge or something like that, but this is like an actual deck that I used in Classic Challenge. Alright, so here I use the P.E.K.K.A in the back, and that can be a risky move because it is 7 elixir committed, but in double elixir time it's a little bit more safe to do. And look at the placement of the Flying Machine. Even though I lose this match, that's a really good play because what I do is I place it in the right there, and because of its massive range, it allows it to be placed just in the leftmost tile of the right lane, if that makes sense, and then it shoots the opposing units on the left lane and then continues down the right lane to support that P.E.K.K.A in the right. Now I got 2 P.E.K.K.As on the field, and I was gonna share this replay and be like, ha ha ha, 2 P.E.K.K.As, I own this guy, but that's not how it goes, unfortunately. So here, that P.E.K.K.A does connect, so that's really good, and I take that tower down, it looks like, but he's got my left tower here with that Hog there. And because I have the P.E.K.K.A out of cycle, I don't really have any reliable answer to the Hog. And it's interesting, I'm noticing he's always using the Mortar defensively to take out that Battle Ram, or to distract that Battle Ram, rather. Now here, my Flying Machine connects, does some good damage. He uses arrows defensively there, does a little bit of chip damage to the Magic Archer, and also takes out that Flying Machine. I use the P.E.K.K.A up in front now because I know that he's going to try to take out my right tower, obviously that's what he's going to go for, because 1226 HP is a lot easier to take out than 4008, so he's not going to go for my King Tower. So I use the P.E.K.K.A up there kind of preemptively, because I know he's going to put something down to try to go for my Princess Tower on the right there. Now I wouldn't normally put the Flying Machine and the Magic Archer right on top of each other like that, but I know that he doesn't have a heavy spell in this deck right now. He is running Log, Zap, and Arrows, but he doesn't have like a Fireball or something that could instantly take those two out. So normally you don't want to put those two right next to each other. That's probably a bad move. And I get some really solid chip damage here on the right, but his Mortar and his Cannon Cart are just enough to finish it off. And that Cannon Cart played in the pocket does a really good job of finishing me off there, which is unfortunate, but it's a cool play. And you know, Cannon Cart is underrated, guys, so definitely check out that card. Play it if you haven't already. Try it out in a few challenges. Look up some decks for it. I think I have a few decks. I have a Giant Skeleton Cannon Cart deck, and you could check that one out. Did a video on it. Alright, guys. Leave a comment if you like or dislike this. Let me know. Let me know what you liked. If you have any suggestions for anything in the future, let me know. I want to hear it. Leave the video a like. Give it a thumbs up because that helps the channel. You know, share it. All that good stuff. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Have a good night.